Welcome to Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule, and welcome to the fourth Sunday of Advent. This podcast is being released to you on December 21st, and we are inching so much closer to the beginning of the celebration of the season of Christmas. I hope that you are all set for an amazing week and that you are ready to joyously welcome the news of this birth. I know we rehearse it year after year after year, and maybe this will be the year where we have a little more insight into just what is it about this story that is so compelling that we have a whole season preparing us for it, and a whole 12 days celebrating it, and then a whole year ahead of letting this whole thing unfold. There's something about this story of a child being born to wake us up to the way that God desires to do well in flesh, that God tabernacles with us. And as this story of Jesus teaches us that God dwells in the most common things and is at work in the most common places among regular old people. This is such an important story. And this fourth Sunday of Advent has me thinking about how none of it would have come to be had it not been for the wisdom of those who were looking and watching and listening to their dreams. I spoke last time about the importance of a young mama, probably pre-teen age Mary, who actually had this experience of this angelic announcement. She had what we might call a vision. She had a visitation. This is a way that the message of God came to her in this incredible experience of being called upon to be the vessel, to open herself fully to how God would work in her life and bring about this incredible salvation for us all in this child that was this particular child that would show us something universal about all of us. It also would not have come to pass had Joseph, the man that was engaged to Mary, betrothed, the text reads, the man that was engaged to Mary, young Mary, listened, paid attention, was aware of the power of his dreams. According to the Gospel of Matthew, which some of us lift up on this fourth Sunday of Advent, Joseph, who is probably a little bit jittery about this marriage, this pending nuptials coming to be, this experience of taking Mary to be his wife, Joseph goes to sleep one night. This is in the Gospel of Matthew. And it is in this experience of being asleep that God wakes him up. In his dreams, God speaks to him, as I believe God speaks to all of us through our dreams, which is why it's so important that we learn how to pay attention to our dreams. When I was trained as a spiritual director, we were taught that there are 7 classic ways that we encounter the divine, that we encounter the holy, that we encounter God. And one that has been so overlooked for far too long by the Western mind is how God encounters us in our dreams. In the Gospel of Matthew, Joseph heeds the warning he receives in his dream. Now, maybe it was as clear as a bell that he literally had an angelic announcement as well, telling him, beware. There's someone who is so very threatened by the birth of this child that is coming in Mary that we want you to be sure that you stay connected to her. It's like Joseph is hearing this message. You don't need to be afraid about all that God is doing in the life of Mary, because your role is to stay wedded to her, to walk with her, to protect her, to be at her side as she is about this incredible birth of God, becoming the mother, the Theotokos, the mother of God. Joseph has a role to play. He is not to abandon this young woman who finds herself pregnant. He's to stay at her side, regardless of convention or custom. And he is to ensure that that child is taken from the land where he is born in Bethlehem out to Egypt, that he will be safe. Now, this has happened in a couple of dreams that Joseph has, but it's so important that, like, Jesus is being born to people who believe that God can encounter them beyond just like what we hear in church, or beyond like what we read in a Bible, or beyond just like what happens in the set aside place of the sanctuary. Jesus is being born to a mama and a daddy who are open to all the ways that God will work in their lives. And so it is through dreams that Jesus actually safely comes into the world. Had it not been for Mary listening, like heeding that vision, which is a waking world dream, the vision that she received, this angelic announcement, had it not been for Joseph waking up, literally waking up from his dream that he had while he was sleeping at night, if these individuals had not paid attention to their dreams, we have no idea how the story would have gone. It's entirely possible Jesus would not have been born. The way that God encounters us in our dreams is so unique, and it's a way that literally God can wake us up, that like what is not conscious within us yet can grow into our full awareness. In this congregation, Hillwood Presbyterian Church USA, we have a dream group. We actually have a dream group that meets once a month. And as somebody trained in the Jungian tradition, the tradition coming out of the work of Swiss Carl Jung, I work with people in helping to understand their dreams. Like, okay, it might have been plain as day for Joseph, that he might have just known, like, oh, the angel said, like, okay, I'm supposed to like take Mary to be my wife and like make sure I shepherd and like protect this little one all the days of his life. Like maybe it was that clear in Joseph's dream, or maybe he had to do a little bit of work with the symbols and the images that arose in his nightly dream. As we pause just a few days before Christmas, I want to make sure you know, and perhaps you've heard me talk about this before, maybe this is new to you, but I want to make sure you know about how to pay attention to your dreams, because God might be trying to break in a new way for you this season of Advent, these last couple of days before the celebration of Christmas begins. And as we think about our dreams, let's just kind of pause for a moment and bring back to mind, or if you're somebody who records your dreams in any way, like go find that dream that you had that like still has this like energy for you, that still keeps you wondering. It might have been a dream you had 30 years ago. Maybe it's a dream you had 2 weeks ago. Maybe it's a dream from last night, but something about it is still like staying with you. Maybe because it's bothering you, or it seems like that theme is coming up again and again, or maybe it's just like such a big dream that is so important for your life that it's not going to go away until you begin to wake up to what God is trying to give you through your dream. So if you'll like take a moment to bring that dream back to mind, take a moment to like maybe even closing your eyes for a moment, and wherever you are, like once again rehearsing in your mind or in your heart what was taking place in that dream. And if you'll think about the setting to begin with, usually the dream gives us a very important clue at the start with a setting. So as we're thinking about that dream that is still staying with us, if you'll kind of like begin to like work with the symbol of that setting. So here's how we do that. Paying attention to the setting in our dream, we start to ask ourselves, like, what's the purpose of that setting? So many of us have dreams in a school, and when we start to think about the purpose of a school, we start to learn that, like, well, the purpose of a school is really to shape us, to teach us, to form us into who we are becoming. And so the dream itself might be showing us in our psyche, in like what's going on with us right now. We're in a time where we need to be like learning something, that we're in a process of formation, that we're in a process of mastering some kind of knowing. The dream might be showing us this with the setting. If we like kind of dial back in, close our eyes once again, carry on with the dream that might be kind of wiggling within us, rehearsing that dream in our mind. If we could zero in on if there are characters, are there people in the dream? People or characters in the dream are like such an important thing to pay attention to. In the tradition of dream work that I'm trained in, we start first by understanding that everything in the dream is a part of ourselves. Like even the setting in a dream is a part of myself, because the setting in a dream can be showing me about what's going on in my spiritual life, in my psychological makeup, like that I'm in a season of life where I am undergoing learning, formation, mastery of knowledge, because the dream continuously is showing me the setting of a school. So there's something about that school that actually has to do with me. Like the symbol of the school, psyche or unconscious, is giving us that to show us something about our very selves. People in our dreams, characters in our dreams, are a very important awareness that we are needing to either wake up to or to integrate. So let me back up for a second here. In Jungian dream work, the people that show up in our dreams are, we start by saying that the energies or the characteristics that they are embodying are actually something about ourselves. So for instance, perhaps we've had a dream where a sister is in our dream, like one of our sisters, or a teacher that we've had in the past is in our dreams, or maybe even like our like beloved, like our partner or spouse, they're in our dreams. And what we want to begin to do is to begin to unpack the energy or the characteristics. This is not the physical makeup of these people. This is like the zest of who they are, if you will. So like if, for instance, it's a sister that's in your dream, what I will ask you to do is to start to think about the three characteristics or the three descriptions of that sister's energy. So if you have a sister that's like hot-tempered and entirely loyal and always outgoing, how we work with that is we begin to say like, okay, those are three characteristics of her energy. And we begin to play with the dream and the symbols of the dream and ask ourselves, wonder, like, is there something going in my world right now that is showing me that I need to like see these parts of myself? I need to see this part of myself that's hot-tempered, or I need to see this part of myself that's like extra always loyal, or I need to see this part of myself that is like always outgoing. Because what might be going on in my life is that like I am not paying attention to the fact that I can be hot-tempered. And so the dream is trying to wake me up to that and be like, hello, this is part of what is a struggle in waking world, because you're not seeing that you have this hot temper and you like have this flash of response to people when you're in certain situations, which the dream might be like inviting me to see, so that I literally will wake up, so that I will live more conscious, so that I will be who God like has created me to be in this world. So the dream might also be showing me that there are aspects of myself that I'm like totally cut off from. Like, for instance, a dream with a sister. Maybe it's a sister, or let's just take it this way. Maybe it is a woman that I do not know in waking world, but who in the dream is like having like the characteristics that would embody somebody with a hot temper, somebody who's very fiercely loyal, and somebody who is incredibly outgoing. And it's like one of those characters in the dream that can be like kind of hazy. These are really important like pointers in the dream to me beginning to recognize these in myself. Perhaps because I have not been seeing these aspects of myself, or because, especially when the people or the characters in the dream are people I don't know in waking world, it's entirely possible that the dream is trying to show me a part of myself that I've like banished into shadow, that I'm like cut off completely from. So a woman who's very hot-tempered, incredibly loyal, and extremely outgoing, it may be that I have banished those parts of myself. Perhaps I've been shamed in the past for having a hot temper, or for being incredibly outgoing. Or perhaps like I absolutely despise my like fierce loyalty. These are all like examples. I'm not saying this really is myself at all. These are just examples. But perhaps I like really despise the fact that I'm fiercely loyal, and then like get into all these messes in my life because I won't like just cut ties. I'm like too loyal. And so for whatever reason, I have banished these parts of myself, that I won't see them. I like literally throw them to the back. They become my shadow because either I don't like them about myself, or society has told me these are not things that are attractive or what we want in a woman today. And God will not let us be stuck in being half of who we are. We are to become whole human beings. This is the way that we become like the ones that really understand ourselves as being like spirit infused matter, that God lives in us as well. And that like there's a way in which we are born as like this precious potential of being like these children that are so honored and beloved, and even children of God. And when I like send to my shadow, like push behind me aspects of myself that I'm ashamed of, embarrassed of, been told that are not okay to be, I'm not being who God has created me to be. So the dream, which is given by God, will not allow me to stay in that kind of slumber about myself. Life gives me this opportunity. God wants me to wake up to these parts of myself. Now, characters in our dream can be so confusing, because even as we say things like, oh, a woman who's hot-tempered, immediately we can have all sorts of projections and all sorts of negativity about a woman who is hot-tempered. And even a man who's hot-tempered. It's like, no, those are not to be. And there's a way that God might need me to see the kernel of good of that hot temper. It kind of reminds me of the way like Megan Watterson's work helps us to break down like these powers or climates that we are, and like this power of wrath, this power of like the anger that can arise and wants to like burn it all down. The gift of wrath, the gift of anger, it's actually wisdom, because it shows me what really matters to me. So my hot temper, again, this is just an example, not necessarily a true scenario, but like my hot temper might be showing me like, this is my boundary. When somebody crosses this, I will not like be silent about it. So for instance, we might know of a woman who has like a hot temper whenever she sees innocent children suffering, because she is so committed to the good of every child. She will not let the vulnerable be victimized. And so this hot temper flares up. And this is an important gift. I mean, it's an important gift to like rein in and be like working for us, not being destructive. And this is the gift of dreams. This is what the dream world, what God wants us to see, so that we can see how our hot temper, if you want to call it that, how our hot temper like keeps us faithful on our path. Because we might be the person that God has created to be the protector of the vulnerable children of the world. And the hot temper is actually there as a gift to make sure that we continue to work for the rights of all beings, especially the most vulnerable children of the world. This is all the way shadow is so important and must be like brought into wholeness. Carl Jung would speak about like the process of individuating, the process of becoming whole. Like we cannot be a whole human being when there are aspects of ourselves that we either haven't yet known or that we have banished to shadow. Like when there's aspects of shadow in us that we are not like bringing forth for them to like play their positive part in our personality, we're going to have some troubles. We're not going to be who God has made us, individuated us to be. These are the beautiful gifts of dream work. One more thing I want to say about dream work. I want to say a word about animals. Animals are often in our dreams. I personally have a couple of animals that show up again and again and again in my dreams. It's because like my unconscious is using things I know, a little bit at least, to show me something about myself that I'm not aware of yet, or that I'm not seeing. And so, for instance, I've heard some stories lately, and I know some folks who've had owls in their dreams. Barn owls, screech owls, whatever kind of owls that might be in your dreams. Like owls, whew, they're amazing creatures. They have long held the understanding of being like these amazing creatures who are able to perceive and see. Even like think about an owl can see in the dark. An owl's head has a radius that allows it to like take in all things. Yes, owls are predatory. They have those claws and those tannins that like they will like literally shred apart their prey. But owls also have this ability to see in the dark. They can like perceive, they can know, even in the midst of mystery, of this like nighttime sky, they still are able to find their way. They have amazing perceptions and abilities. And so when I have dreams with owls in them again and again and again, or even like just like the owl appearing once, it may be like an owl showing up to show me like this instinctual way that I am able to perceive, maybe even through the midst of chaos and nighttime and like everything that seems like misty and unclear and mysterious in my world. But yet that owl energy is reminding me that like, you really can take a good look through it all and like be able to know in the midst of even the most chaotic, despairing time of your life. The energy of animals shows us our instinctual animals, the parts of us that also are animal. The energy of the animals show us and remind us aspects of ourselves that we might need so very much to make it through like a week like this, when Christmas is right in the middle of the week. And for so many of us, there's travel, there's gatherings, there's church experiences we will have, there's family experiences we will have. There's so much to come. And we may really need to call upon the wisdom of our dreams to get us through, to really allow us to be who God needs and wants us to be through it all. So just a little pause today to pay attention to your dreams. A reminder that had Jesus' parents not paid attention to their dreams, Jesus most likely would not have been here. The great and wonderful story of this season is the wisdom of those who know that God encounters us even in our dreams. I hope that you have an amazing week. I hope that you spend a little time paying attention to your dreams or calling up dreams from the past that still kind of cling to you, because there's a way, a word, a wisdom that God is seeking to give to you through your dreams. Blessings for this 4th week of Advent, and see you soon in the celebration of Christmas.